Alright guys, it is time now for the Honda VFR800. This is my 2003 Honda VFR800, and I've owned this bike for about 2 years now, but we're going to go ahead and show you guys what it's like to ride the bike. Now before we get started, I just want to say it's not completely stock. As you can see, I do have heli bars, which raise the bar height just a little bit, and I have a Sergeant seat, which will adjust. Basically, it's obviously going to be more comfortable, but it's a little bit wider than stock, so the reach to the ground isn't the same as stock. And also, I have +2 rear tooth sprocket, and I have a dyno-tuned exhaust system along with a couple other mods. So it's not stock power, it's not stock power delivery, it's not stock riding comfort and all that stuff, but I am going to still do what it's like to ride a VFR 800, but just remember, it's not stock. So without further ado, let's get to it. There you go. That was a good rev for you guys. This is a V-TEC model. So with V-TEC, basically that means that the bike, the engine runs on 2 valves per cylinder at low RPMs, but then once it hits 6,800 RPM, it goes to 4 valves per cylinder. So you get a big power increase right at that point. And when I say big, I don't mean turbocharger big, but you do notice it. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Sitting on the bike, my reach to the ground's pretty good. I can flat foot this bike, sorta. This, with the original seat I could. With this seat, it's not quite as easy because it's more padded right here by my legs. But yeah, seating position is not bad. Your reach to the bars, again, these are heli bars, but straight across. My back, almost neutral. If you're taller than me, you probably would have more of a neutral back because your arms are longer and you probably could be further back. Alright, so now let's go ahead and get it started. I'm going to pull the clutch in. The nice, lightweight hydraulic clutch, put into first gear, and we're going to slowly take off. Nice and smooth, no drama. Close this real quick. Power's not bad right off the line. I mean, it's nothing crazy or torquey or anything like that. It's very smooth and linear. Rev matching is super easy. We're gonna go right here. I think we're good. For my feet, for how long they hang down, I have pretty good bend in my legs right now. It's definitely, they're not forward controls, but they are lower than like sport bike controls, so it is a little bit more comfortable. As for the handling, it handles so good. I mean, for a sport touring bike, this thing handles great. I would love to take this to like a track day, believe it or not, because I think it'd be a lot of fun. But yeah, I can't really test the power out right here. I'm not going to do it on this road. As you can see, it's kind of like a one-lane road. But the suspension, and I've taken this to the twisties many times, so the suspension is definitely up for the job. Definitely. It handles perfectly fine, and also it soaks up the bumps just fine. I mean, this is the reason why I love VFRs, because they're sporty touring bikes, which means that you can ride all day and be comfortable, but when the time comes, you hit the mountains, you hit the twisties, it's the weekend, you bring your bike to the track, it can handle it just fine. It can hang with the other bikes. The top speed of this bike, I don't actually know it off the top of my head, but I've had it as fast as 140 miles an hour on a private road. 140, 145. So even at top speed on the highway, does it just fine. And although I'm not going to take you guys to the highway right now, mainly because it's hard to hear me because the mic doesn't cut out the wind that great, it handles on the highway perfect. It's nice and smooth, no drama. It can plenty of passing power, plenty. I don't even have to downshift most of the time. Usually I will, just to, you know, be sure, but you don't have to downshift with this bike. Oh, also I would like to say that this windshield is aftermarket as well, and so it does move the wind blast. Usually the blast would hit me in the shoulders. Now it's kind of hitting me in the top of the helmet. It's a Puig, I don't know, windshield, so double bubble. This is the type of bike you really can ride all day long and have no issues, and that's why I've always loved these bikes. And a lot of people think I'm crazy for liking these bikes, but I mean, yeah, they're not sexy sport bikes or anything, but it doesn't have to be. It's not trying to be. And I still think it looks good. It's not a bad looking bike. We're gonna hit VTEC V-TEC. Alright, I gotta slow it down. Blind corner right here, see? But you can see it got a lot louder because you can hear them 4 valves breathing, and the engine just it pulls out, and it's good. And with the front suspension travel, it actually does pretty good. And because the front suspension travels so much, it feels like it feels even faster than it probably is, because the front end gets like super light when you're on the gas hard. Not only that, but between you and me in first gear, it will pull a power wheelie pretty good. And I'm not going to do it because I'm not really good at them, but it can do it. And I've seen YouTube videos of guys, my friend clutched up my bike second gear, it'll clutch right up. I mean, I don't do wheelies, so that's not really my style. But wheelies are cool. If you're interested in wheelies, you could stunt this bike. I mean, I wouldn't really recommend this as a stunt bike, but you could be a stunter and ride this bike. You can wheelie it. It has the power for that. As for everything else, I mean, it's just smooth. As for the brakes, I can't really test it here. I'll test it up here. But the brakes on this bike, now, my big complaint with the previous generation VFR, well, the 1992 model, 1991 model that I had, was that the brakes were kind of bad. That was one of my huge complaints. That's kind of, but that was remedied with this bike. That was fixed. Honda added in their linked brake system, which basically means, if you don't already know, that if you pull on the front brake, a little bit is applied to the rear as well. And if you hit the rear brake, a little bit's applied to the front. And the idea is that it will help you stop more securely. And it's actually a really good idea, because if I stomp on the rear brake, like, I don't even think I can... Yeah, like, I was almost standing on that rear brake. Not really. I mean, I didn't go completely, but the bike didn't skid. It would not skid. And that's Honda's linked brake system. That's not a lack of rear brake. That's Honda making a very good linked brake system, because I can brake as hard as I can with my right foot, and chances are I won't lock up the rear end. So it's a very, very smart system. It's like having ABS without having ABS. Now, it does add complexity and cost and stuff, because you have more fittings and you have more lines you have to bleed. It's harder to bleed this system, but it's not a big deal. Like, you can do it. Yeah, and I didn't even do all of them there. Like, I was pretty conservative with that. Look at the Buzz Lightyear and Woody doll. That's funny. And of course, we got to talk about the weight, because this is a heavy bike. 530 pounds, I believe. 525 pounds. It's heavy. You will notice the weight of this bike when moving it around the garage, but you'll notice it in another place too, and that's on the highway, because this bike feels so planted. It feels so good on the highway. It just feels like a highway cruiser. Gonna go ahead and cut in here. So I'm gonna sit in the breakdown lane, essentially, because I'm afraid somebody's gonna cut over. And we're good. That's kind of a strategy of mine. I mean, people are waiting in line, they don't see a bike, and they just jet out real quick, no blinker, nothing, so you always want to be off to the side. I know, safety notes, you know, safety HeroRR, safety RR, I understand, but hey, it's the beginning of the season, so I figured everybody who sees this video, maybe it's just a quick reminder. I mean, it's a treat to ride this thing, because my 600 and my RC51, my 2 other street bikes, they are designed for the track. They're designed for the track, and that's the reason why when I'm riding them, like, I could complain, like, oh, my back hurts, or the reach isn't that great, or the power's not that friendly. I don't with this bike, though. I am using this bike in the ideal scenario that it was designed for by Honda. By Honda. They expected people to do exactly what I'm doing with this bike, which is awesome. So it feels great, it looks great, it's just a great bike. And if you can only have one bike, this is the bike to get. Assuming that you have to stay on pavement, like, as long as you're staying on pavement, this is the bike to get. If you're gonna do dirt, then you're probably better off with like a KLR 650 or something. But for pavement, get this bike. It's amazing. If it has to be your only bike, and it's, trust me guys, it's fast, and it can hang with your friends who have 600s. It can hang with them no problem. I mean, if they're doing maybe top speed, they won't hang, but it'll hang just fine. And if you have skill, you'll outpace a 600 no problem, even in the twisties. But you have to have the skill, and they don't have to have skill. Like, they have to have no skill, and you have to have skill, and then you'll outpace them no problem. I mean, this is just, it's a good bike for people who, they don't want to be the most flashiest person. They don't care about flash. They don't care about crazy power. They don't care about anything like that. But they just want something that's capable, plenty fast, and comfortable. And still looks nice. And you put a top box on the back, and it's practical too. I mean, as for mileage, I mean, it's not really the best gas mileage bike, but it is better than the, it only takes 87 octane, which is good. And not only that, but it also gets, I think it gets about 40 miles per gallon, maybe a little less depending on how you ride it. But 40 miles per gallon is not too shabby there. I mean, my car gets like 23 miles per gallon, so the fact that this gets 40 or just under 40 it makes it a great commuter bike. But anyway, guys, that's the VFR. This is what it's like to ride the VFR. I love this bike, I seriously do, and it's such a good bike to ride on the street. It was a treat to ride this bike today and make this video for you guys. I mean, I like the RC51 and the CBR as well. I love those bikes. They're great bikes, but I will admit that during the rides, I'm like, oh, my back, or I have to take my arm off the bars. Like, it's fun, but then there's parts that aren't fun. This bike, it's all fun. It's all fun. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing with this bike, which makes it great, and it sounds freaking amazing. You can see that guy was cocking his head back to look at my bike. I mean, it sounds great. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in the next one. Take care, and bye-bye.
Let me live my life, the one I'd better lead. All the plans of fantasies, and we looked at them 11 ways. You said, look at me, and